Talk about the DNC, other trending news. As usual, you guys can join the show by clicking the link in the comments. Yeah. Click the link above to join. Yep. Let's go. Don't take my word for it. Look that mess up, please.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? KCE, King Chaka.
An educated and united public cannot be controlled. Get organized. Learn to be active.
Looks like we got us another hit.
Did you tell her to get away from me? She's crazy.
Choose your destiny.
An educated and united public cannot be controlled. Get organized. Learn to be active. Investigate both sides of the argument. Come up with your own conclusions.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? KCE, King Chaka.
Hey, how y'all doing out there? How y'all feel? Remember, an educated public cannot be controlled. Learn to be active. The views and events expressed here are totally whacked, not necessarily the views of anyone. ¿Cómo estás? Bien, bien, bien. ¿Podemos ayudarnos más? Sí se puede. And don't take my word for it. Look that mess up. Please. Yes, this has been produced for entertainment and or educational purposes. So don't sue me. And if I use something that's yours, just send me an email. I will delete it. How y'all feel? Feel good? It's good to feel good. It's the first week of school, so I'm exhausted and I haven't had time to do stuff related to the show very much. So, and I don't know that I will be doing late shows anymore. I'm trying to change my life, if you will. So, I'm going to be trying to do daytime shows as much as possible, as opposed to doing those late night shows that we've done historically over the past few years. So, we're trying to switch gears here, become a little more professional. At some point, we want to get like a studio, if you will, or at least some kind of like decorations to make it look more professional. We will see. Let's start with some random doom scrolling. Why? Because I need to warm up. DNC. We'll definitely talk about the DNC a little bit, RFK a little bit, other things. Speaking of RFK,
I am simply suspending it and not ending it. My name will remain on the ballot in most states. If you live in a blue state, you can vote for me without harming or helping President Trump or Vice President Harris. In red states, the same will apply. I encourage you to vote for me. Everyone to know that I am not terminating my campaign. And now, to throw my support to President Trump. President Trump says that he will reopen negotiations with President Putin and end the war overnight as soon as he becomes president. This alone would justify my support for his campaign. And now,
it says, I'm sharing a personal statement that my family and I have made in response to my brother's announcement. So this is Kerry Kennedy, the Shade Room. Statement on Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s announcement today. We want an America filled with hope and bound together by a shared vision of a brighter future, a future defined by individual freedom, economic promise, and national pride. We believe in Harrison Walz. Our brother Bobby's decision to endorse Trump today is a betrayal of the values that our father and our family hold most dear. It is sad. It is a sad ending to a sad story. Interesting. So his sister isn't feeling his endorsement of Trump. I don't know what that really means, but freaking RFK is all over the place, man. And I saw a post that said, he's going to try to pull his name off of the ballot in the states where it would hurt Trump and leave it on the ballot in states where it could hurt Harris. But again, I don't know that very many people are going, planning to vote for RFK who are on that side anyways. That's the reason why he's dropping out, is because the political analysts, determined that he's hurting Trump way more than Harris. So the Trump team probably reached out to him and was like, bro, cease and desist. It says NASA will give a conclusive update on the Boeing Starliner crew stuck aboard the ISS tomorrow, August 24th. It's likely may not return home until February 2025. They were only supposed to be there for less than a week. That really sucks. I saw that story too. That really sucks. Hopefully they'll be okay.
City drinking water. Every night I sleep on a bed of rotted hay soaked in goat urine, but other than that, I'm good. The whole city burned down! Not again! Go get the beer and sardines! It's time to feed our infant son. Oh, don't worry, it's just malaria. I thought it was something serious. I would never think of working less than 16 hours a day. I'm not a communist. My bartender gave me 10 cents, a shot of bourbon, and a big sack of coal. And in exchange, I'm voting for him for mayor. I'm currently breathing in sulfur, ammonia, boiled carcass, desiccated feces, fish grot, kerosene, acid fumes, and also septic muck.
Random. How y'all feeling out there? I saw the clip about RFK talking about the food, and they said that they were trying to censor him from talking. I don't know how true that is. I didn't get a chance to watch. I only saw clips from the DNC. I didn't get to really watch it. I had time to watch the RNC. I watched a pretty good amount of that. But the DNC stuff I didn't get to watch. I was dealing with school stuff this week.
Hey, they're beautiful people. So our salad bar is stocked every week.
So once elected, I'll be a vegetarian. Let's get into some stuff. Police. RFK Jr. suspends campaign, endorses Trump for president. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Well, not really. It says RFK Jr. suspended his long shot independent bid for the White House on Friday and endorsed Republican nominee Donald Trump for president. In my heart, I no longer believe that I have a realistic path to an electoral victory, Kennedy said in a press conference in Arizona. Kennedy said he was working to remove his name from the ballot in battleground states so as not to act as a spoiler for Trump, but encourage people in Democratic-leaning states to still vote for him. So help me understand this. So, he's removing his name from battleground states that could spoil Trump, but in Democratic-leaning states, he's telling the people to go ahead and vote for him. And then he's also saying he doesn't have a realistic path to electoral victory. So then what is the point of encouraging people to vote for you who have no, so they're just going to throw their vote away on you, huh? I don't know about this guy. It says, invoking his family history, Kennedy attacked the Democratic Party for no longer upholding its own principles. He said the party had rigged the primary process and colluded with corporate media outlets to censor alternatives to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Now, I agree with that sentiment right there. I think that is absolutely 100% true. Lesser of two evils argument, two-party system. Yeah, they absolutely did that. And the media helps them with that. That's true. Because the Democrats could have done a vibrant primary and gave the voters, an opportunity to select someone other than Biden. But they didn't. Comments, it says, ran his entire campaign on climate change, then endorsed a candidate who says climate change is a hoax. What a joke. Another comment, there's a reason his entire family is embarrassed by him. Another comment, LMFAO, at every crunchy anti-vaxxer formerly in my feed will encourage me to take a look at RFK. He's a true pro-environment candidate, literally rolling on the floor laughing. Total joke. It says the worm has endorsed the orange. I think we have a winning children's book plot hidden. That is hilarious. The thing about the worm, I would have never let that hit the press if I was him. Never gonna be able to let that get by. Never gonna let that die. People are gonna bring that up forever. It says an environmental attorney advocate endorsing the Trump administration. This dude has totally lost his mind. Another one, JFK is rolling in his grave. Shame. It says hard to take candidates seriously when their values and morals are all over the place. See, that's a very good comment right there. And that's how I feel. And that's a good description of a lot of politicians, but especially this guy. It's like, I don't know where you are on anything, bro, because from one week to the next, you just flip and flop it. I don't like that. Even if you stand for something I don't agree with, I can respect you for being consistent and standing on what you believe in. This one, it says Justice Department files antitrust lawsuits against real estate software company alleging collusion with landlords that hiked prices for renters across the U.S. Americans should not have to pay more in rent because a company has found a new way to scheme with landlords to break the law. Attorney General Merrick Garland. The Justice Department and several state attorneys general filed an antitrust suit against RealPage, alleging that the real estate software company engaged in a collusion scheme with landlords that resulted in higher prices for renters across the country. While the company has faced civil lawsuits before at the state level, officials said the suit appears to be the first federal one of its kind involving such an advanced algorithmic collusion scheme. This is good news, and we've been seeing more stuff like this has been happening this year, and that's really good stuff. This is really good stuff. When people complain about inflation or they complain about rent prices or grocery prices or whatever it is, and then they blame the president or whatever, and then I'm like, your anger is misguided. It should be at these corporations, these monopolies, these multinational conglomerates. No one wants to hold them accountable. They control the narrative, they control the media, they control what we argue about, and we argue about stuff that's never going to land on them. So your anger is misguided, and it's because of these people, and they have power over what our whole discourse is. So it's really good that we've been seeing things like this have been happening this year. I hope it gains steam and happens more. I hope some of these companies get broken up. They might as well be a country. They're so strong and powerful. How many employees do they have? Enough to comments. It says, yes, get them. Then make it so hedge funds and large corporations and foreign nationals can't buy residential real estate or land under 100 acres. Yeah, I don't think those companies should be able to buy residential dwellings at all. Like, what is the point? Why would a corporation want to buy residential dwellings? The whole idea of a residential dwelling is a person buying it to live there. A person cannot compete with the corporation. A person doesn't have the liquid cash to buy the house outright. The corporation does. If you're selling a home, then you're going to sell it to someone who has the cash up front. Like, why wouldn't you? You can't blame them for that. But now it becomes a forever renter home. You got whole neighborhoods. No opportunity for a person to own it. You can live there, but you can't own it. Comment says, now stop corporations from buying all the single family homes. Exactly. Another one, good to see Merrick going to work after 3 years of sitting on his hands. What a waste. He's been doing stuff. I mean, people love to make comments like that, like you're clever and smart and all of that or whatever, but you haven't been following it. So he's been doing stuff. Comment, it says, this is moving in the right direction. Rents are too high and it's time to help us, the people. Another one. Okay, now where's the one against BlackRock? Another one. The U.S. is the only country that allows toxic ingredients in food because our precious FDA takes bribes from companies. Yep. I don't really know how that relates to what we're talking about here, but another comment, it says the justice that never was bringing justice for the American people. Another comment, it says get rid of our corrupt Wall Street government. Yes. Another one, hold them accountable. Another one, about time, and lower these outrageous rent prices. I don't know if that's how you spell that.
Check. We are going to cancel $8.5 million of medical debt.
Maddie Montgomery, senior pastor at the Altar Fellowship Church, cast the vision to help pay off the medical debt of thousands of people in the Tri-Cities. They partnered together with a national program to help forgive debts.
The story meant so much to our senior pastor, Pastor Maddie, because he was losing his father to cancer at the young age of 8. And while he was on hospice care at home, a businessman from their town bought Christmas gifts for their entire family. And so that was an inspiration for him and has continued to be an inspiration for all of us.
The Altar Fellowship was able to take up an offering of around $50,000 in one day, even unknowingly helping members of their own congregation. One of those was the dad of a teenage member, Carl Smith.
He had some medical bills that we were just struggling to pay off. And he came to my room and was like, hey, the altar, your church, just paid off my medical debt. And it was just such a blessing to find that out.
Smith says he even donated to the cause, not knowing about his family's own debt.
I only had a couple dollars in my pocket, but I knew that everything counted. So I gave the most I could.
The Altar Fellowship wanted to help whoever they can in the community, regardless of who they are.
With this check.
What a cool thing. And see how big these churches are getting. You know, they are not helping the community. Like, the churches can't grow into a freaking city if it's helping the community, bro. Like, these big, huge mega churches should not exist. That's just the way I feel. This is really cool thing right here. They all should be doing this. They're not paying taxes. They're just feeding off of the freaking community, and they don't give back. They do not give back. This is the reason why I stopped going to church. If I do go to church, it's going to be a small church. I don't want to go to the church and see like a big band and all of these lights and these big, huge performances and stuff. Like, that's not what it's about, man. I don't connect to that. I connect to a good sermon. So you don't need all those lights in a big, huge band to give a good sermon. You know, and if you really care about the people, then you're gonna feel compelled. You know, you got people in your audience who are struggling. They can't pay their rent, they can't pay their light bill, they don't have food, and meanwhile you're asking them for money. You know, and the pastor has a brand new BMW or Benz. The wife has a big rings and big necklace, diamonds blinging. You can see it in the back of the huge church, shining in your eye. Like, something ain't right with that, where the money that you're using to buy those diamonds is coming from the same people who can't pay their light bill. You sleep with it. How do you sleep at night? The community around your church is crumbling. You know, the homes got holes in the roof. It's a food desert right there. They're putting all their hope in you. You tell them the more money they put into the church, the more money they're going to get back. Meanwhile, they're sitting in the house, hole in the roof, no electricity, no food. Do better, y'all. It says a Tennessee church paid off over $8 million in medical debt for people across the region. The church canceled thousands of people's debts, both in and out of the congregation. That is really cool. I'm willing to bet that they could do a lot more, but that's still really, really, really cool. Most of these churches aren't doing anything. They're just feeding off the community. Perfect Union. It says the church canceled thousands of people's debts, both in and out of the congregation. Comments, it says, actually, a lot of black churches already been doing this because they actually understand the assignment. I went to a church in LA that had free counseling, food every Sunday, and free elder care. I don't see that very much. And you didn't give an example of them paying down someone's medical debt. Like a lot of churches have counseling, which is a cool thing, but I mean, economics is everything, and just having lunch for Sunday is a cool thing. That I went to a church that was like that. Every Sunday they would feed everyone, and that's a cool thing to do. But I haven't seen a church that does that anymore. Let me know where those are. Leave it in the comments. I'm in Houston. Give me a location of a church that actually feeds the congregation on Sunday, because I haven't seen that in years. Free elder care, I haven't seen that either. Show me where that is. Another comment, it says, what would be slightly easier? Universal health care. Telling you, man. But hey, take the wins where you can get them. Another comment, damn, think of the jet he could have purchased for himself with that money like the other guys do. Another comment says, this is the most Christ-like thing I've heard of a Christian church doing in maybe my lifetime. Another comment, why did a church have $8 million in the first place? It's a good chunk of change. You'd probably be surprised how much they take in on Sundays, especially these big churches. I was at church one time and I saw this guy sitting next to me, and I know that he wasn't like a wealthy person, and he put like $100 bills in the envelope. I don't know how much it was, but it was like a stack of hundreds. And I was like, wow. So, and it's like these people, the ones that really believe in paying their tithes, and it's like a percentage of how much you're making. If you're actually paying your true tithes, that's a lot of money. Comments that says, hey, a U.S. church doing something the Bible actually says to do. Wow. Another comment, it's socialism, I tell you, said the evangelical Christian voting for Orange Dude and is also a recipient of this debt cancellation. Jokes aside, well done, church. Another comment, if churches started doing this for all debts, I'd have zero issues with their tax-exempt status, even those ones that are cults who manage to get legally recognized. Another comment, it's the least they can do considering they don't pay taxes. Another one, every church should be doing this if they are claiming tax exemption. Another comment, glad that this church is doing something positive, but the real story is that in the richest country on earth, people can't afford medical care. Another one, very churchy, very demure, very mindful. Been seeing this word around a lot lately. What is this, the new word of the week? It was weird for a couple weeks, but now I guess it's this word. I don't know this word, so let's look at it. Reserved, modest, and shy, typically used of a woman, a demure young lady. Word origin, late Middle English, in the sense sober, serious, reserved, perhaps from Old French demure, would probably be demurrer, past participle of demurrer, remain, see demure, influenced by Old French mure, grave, from Latin maturus, ripe or mature. The sense reserved, shy, dates from the late 17th century. So the adverb is demurely and the noun is demureness. Demure. Reserved, modest, and shy, typically used of a woman. Of clothing, giving a modest appearance. A demure knee-length skirt. Okay. You learn something new every day. You're going to be like, you didn't know that word? No, I didn't really. I've seen it around, but I didn't really understand the definition. Comment says, nobody should be paying medical debt. The sooner the system collapses, the better. Another comment, I mean, it's great, except that it's ridiculous that medical debt exists as a concept at a personal level. Another one, let's see more of them step up and do the Christian thing. I love to see more churches doing as many churches, like in the hood, there's so many churches. They could come together and do some really great stuff. But I think a lot of them, they're not in it for that. They're in it for that tax exempt status and to get paid.
What are your thoughts about this week?
Well, you know, I think one of the things that struck me most, it was the level, as I said, of choreographed mass spectacle of this convention that would be really worthy of Leni Riefenstahl, the famous Nazi Hitler's filmmaker and propagandist, in terms of controlling the narrative that the American people receive of what the Democratic Party is about. We've seen that both the Republican convention and the Democratic convention show the two faces of American capitalism. On the one hand, with the Republicans, you have a party of white supremacist capitalism, of anti-immigrant xenophobia, of patriarchy, and of war on the working class. And now, this past week, we've seen the party of multiracial neoliberal capitalism, a party that seeks a kinder and gentler form of mass deportation and border militarization, and one that is even more aggressive in the imperial policies of the United States than even the Republican Party, if you consider that. And both parties sort of having a disconnect with the rest of the world. I was stunned by all the chants of USA, USA, USA throughout the Democratic Convention, when the reality is that the United States has never been lower in its prestige and never more discredited around the world than it is today, as a result of, especially of its the war in Gaza, but of all the attempts at regime change and controlling other countries and forcing other countries to do what it wants. And it reminds me constantly that one person, one vote is a dangerous concept because there's always the possibility that the masses of people will act in ways that the rulers don't want. So the necessity to control the narrative, to control what is the people consider possible, is so it's so important to our ruling classes. And that's why they invest so much time and so much effort in this choreographing of spectacle to somehow or other prevent the people from thinking of other possibilities. And
can you share your thoughts about this week?
Yeah, man, he said a mouthful there, you know, the kinder, more friendly version of the same policies, you know, that's crazy and heavy deep. And that's why I say good cop, bad cop with Republicans and Democrats. And the thing about, I know people don't understand what neoliberal is. They automatically think the left, and it's absolutely not that. And I've covered it in the show. Like, I tried to go in depth about it, And I know people still, they just don't get it. I understand that you don't get it. Just like, I don't know, look it up a little bit on your own and try to understand it. When you hear that word liberal in the phrase, you automatically thinking like left, but that's not what it is. And you have the Republican, like the dominant, what's the way to say this? The dominant philosophy for politics of today is neoliberal. Okay. And that's not excluding the Republicans. Okay. The Republicans are signing up for these neoliberal policies, and so are the Democrats. It's the dominant way to go right now. It's the way to go right now. They're all subscribing to it, and it's basically what we're living through. It basically explains everything that's happening. So, I mean, if you can dig into that and try to understand it, just don't get caught up on those words. Try to dig into it and determine what it really means. Yeah, good cop, bad cop, man. He said some really, really good stuff in here. You know, one side, I mean, they're doing the same thing, just they have different tactics of doing it. So one side is more blatant and straightforward, and the other side is more sneaky with it. What do you say? More inclusive. Ultimately the results are the same. It's very, very similar. Democracy Now! Co-host Juan Gonzalez gives his impression of the DNC and RNC, the race for the White House, and more. Comments, it says, seeing the response from DNC attendants walking past Gaza protests was insane. Yeah, so you clearly can see which side, the DNC picked on the Gaza, Hamas situation, because they had people who were what's the word I'm looking for? Prisoners of Hamas, up there talking, or the family members of people who were kidnapped. But they didn't have any Palestinian voices up there. And it was clearly blatantly on purpose, because they could have just had some congressperson that was a Palestinian congressperson to speak, or they could have had a Palestinian American speak. They always talk about both sides, but they didn't represent both sides for the DNC. They didn't get a Palestinian voice in there, so that's not representing both sides whatsoever. And I saw the clip where, AOC was talking about working towards a ceasefire, and Kamala Harris was talking about working towards a ceasefire. And it really just made my stomach hurt to hear them talk, because it's like, if you're working towards a ceasefire on one hand, and on the other hand, you're continuing to give weapons to one of the sides, then you aren't working towards a ceasefire. You're not being honest about that. So just don't say that shit. I mean, be 100 about it. Don't sit there and say we're striving hard for a ceasefire. We're really working towards, peace. And then meanwhile, you're approving another weapons package. Like, you can't have it both ways, man. We're not stupid. Comments, it says, seeing the response from the DNC, I read that one. Another comment says, this man is a hero for speaking truth. Another one, seeing the DNC made me question if we live on the same planet as these folks. Oh yeah, that was one of the comments. He said how out of touch they are. These people are dramatically what's the word? They are concealed. They're in a bubble. They're separated, from the day-to-day reality of that most of us live, you know. I really believe that they are unaware, like completely oblivious to what our lives look like. They couldn't imagine it. They couldn't imagine, you know, budgeting for groceries. You know, they couldn't imagine, driving an old car. You know, they couldn't imagine, not being able to buy a nice jacket for the winter. They couldn't imagine not having money to pay for their medical bills. They don't understand us. They're like, it's obviously your fault. You did something wrong if you can't pay your medical bills. Like, what are you doing with your life? Like, I don't have a problem with it. If I had trouble paying my medical bills, then I could go to my uncle or my dad or my brother or my sister or something, my cousin, you know, my mentor, someone I could go to and they would pay it for me, you know. But, we don't have that. Not all of us have that. Okay. Some of us don't even have a family at all. And those of us that do have a family, some of us don't have a family that has anything to spare. Okay. Even us struggling and making ends meet every month is doing better than the rest of our family. They come to us for help. Can't go to them for help. They're looking for us. They're looking at us for help. These people are completely detached, utterly oblivious. They live in a different world from us. Let's read this one. It says, I feel like I'm in a big old pile of never ending S because I completely get what Juan is saying and why, and do agree with many of his points. But I also understand that the two-party system is not going to break in this election. I'm 100% against the genocide that is happening to Palestinians at the hands of our nation and Israel. But I also understand that I have to vote to support one of the two candidates that are put before me, as they will have control of the country. Knowing that I'm 1,000% not aligned with the Republican Party as it is today, I cannot in good conscience even consider ever remotely voting for Trump or Vance. On the other hand, I am no fan of Harris, but I believe that I am less likely to live in Project 2025 society under her leadership. So this is what I'm stuck with. I truly feel like I have to choose between my safety, my daughter's safety, and millions of Palestinians. I'm just so torn, and I don't want to be, because I shouldn't have to choose between keeping my kids safe and keeping innocent people and children safe from my country. This is the position that all of us are in, and it's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that every election they motivate you to vote for the lesser of two evils. Why is it that we have to choose between the lesser of two evils every cycle? There isn't no coincidence that that's the case. It's the conundrum. It's the pickle that we're put in by design. Good cop, bad cop. Two wings, same bird. And they're downplaying the whole thing, the Palestinian thing, for, and like I say, the Democrats get paid to lose. If they really wanted to win outright, all they would have to do is, really honestly negotiate a ceasefire in, uh, Gaza, or don't give any more weapons to Israel at all. At least until after the election. You know what I mean? Like, they would overwhelmingly win without a doubt by doing that, but they don't care enough. They can't risk their relationship with Israel to win the election. Like, that's not a good trade-off for them, because the hammer would come down on them for making that decision. And it shows who's really in control, who's really running this show. And it's not the American people. We don't call the shots, because if we did, they would move differently. You can see who's calling the shots by the way that they move. Comments. As someone who is not American, this analysis sums up what we're all seeing from the outside. How refreshing to hear an American say it. It says, Juan, you're an absolute legend. Thank you for this brilliant analysis. Rutgers misses you. Another one. He perfectly articulated why watching all of this felt so icky. It feels like 2016 again. It's embarrassing. I want to play his clip again, too. It says, I read some of the comments section of other pages referencing the DNC convention, and I sincerely lost it. There's this level of Disney reality some Democrats live in. I saw comments like, OMG, I lost when Hillary appeared. Go Queen. I had to double check if the user was a real person or a bot. How can someone employ a raw criminal? Another comment. These conventions always scare me. They display just how willingly the American people are in ignoring their own poverty, disenfranchisement, and struggle for the dopamine rush of representation. There are people who went home to rent. They can't pay a children they can barely care for, but got to chant USA, USA. It's Pavlovian, almost how much they pant for more neoliberalism from one party and white supremacy from the other. Yeah. But I don't know. I think a lot of the people that are at these conventions are, it's proximity to power, proximity to wealth. They may not be there in the box seats at the top that cost like $500,000, but they are in the same building with those people who paid those $500,000 box seats. They can rub shoulders with them. They could possibly bump into them, maybe become friends, chop it up in the bathroom or something. I think a lot of people are okay with, being in proximity to power, to being in proximity to wealth. Another comment that says, I'm sorry, this is BS. Comparing the DNC convention to Nazi propaganda. What the F? He must be confused. RNC is Nazi propaganda. It's not. He wasn't saying these people were giving specifically Nazi propaganda. It's the level of propaganda of these people reached the level of, that guy who worked for Hitler. So try to understand what he means when he says that. He's not saying they're spewing specifically Nazi propaganda. He's saying they're spewing propaganda at the level of the guy who worked for Hitler. So very intense, very specific, very effective propaganda. Comment, it says, what Juan says in this clip, for the most part, is idiotic. Between the Leni Riefenstahl and Nazi references and the complaints about the crowd chanting USA, the entirety of his comment is neither constructive critique nor insightful analysis. That the Nazi part is nonsensical is so self-evident that I won't even go into it. As far as all the cheer and the unity and patriotism vibe is concerned, what would one propose in its place if it was in charge of the event? The goal is to unite and energize the Democrats and independents, inspire them and motivate them to work together towards defeating Trump. Would one rather see the DNC filled with the sorrow and the blame and the public soul searching of the deciding that the party is the problem and pointing fingers to who among the party the culprits of the problem are? If so, no wonder Juan is not a leader of a successful political party, and no wonder Juan didn't win any national elections. All he can do is blah, 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 like he does in this clip. The problem he is talking about needs to be discussed and paid attention to and ultimately solved, but the DNC 2 months before the election of the President of the United States is neither the time nor the place to do that, especially when our opponent is someone like Trump. What Juan is talking about needs to be dealt with in the Congress, in the mainstream media, in the grassroots political work, in the lobbying groups, in the PACs. Not here, not now, and not with the absurd and alienating language like you're Nazis, and your show is Lena Riefenstahl-esque. And I thought the channel that call itself Democracy Now! Should understand that. See, you know where the energy of this comment is coming from. It's that vote blue no matter who crowd. It's that, we're just trying to get through this election right now. We'll deal with that later. It's that incrementalism bullshit. It's that neoliberal bullshit. It's that, we can only do so much, so we got to do what we can at this moment shit. This is the problem. You are the problem. Like, we got to deal with that, but we can't deal with it now and here. We got to deal with it some other time and some other place. Like, it'll never be the right time and place to deal with this issue that we have. You are the reason why it will continue forever. You must find some benefit in the status quo and things being the way that they are. You do not want to see things change. Comments, it says, we all something different. I saw a miracle. I loved it. I saw a school teacher, not a capitalist. I saw diversity. I saw Black pride, not privilege. Let's face it, Juan, I saw more talent on so many different levels. Exquisite speakers. I saw veterans, Juan, warriors, the Democrats who fought for this country, Juan, saw Nazi Germany, Juan, and Juan makes zero. I guess you was trying to make some poetry there. I mean, it's beautiful or whatever and catchy. And I have to sympathize with your comment too, to a certain extent. I'm gonna go into some stuff about the VP pick of Kamala Harris, which is really surprising to me. I ain't gonna lie, extremely surprising to me that she chose who she chose. I guess it was a nod to the progressives, and trying to get them on board, which is the right thing that you would want to do to get votes, which doesn't seem like that's her real tactic, especially given with the situation with Gaza and Hamas, and in other areas also where she's placating to her right and trying to get Trump voters and center voters, but the VP pick was not that. And it's really actually it really makes sense because it balances the ticket, because she's so conservative. She's so, her weak area is the progressive area, and he kind of makes up for that. So that's a really smart decision, which I wouldn't think the Democrats would do. They tend to not make good decisions when it comes to electoral politics, or as far as trying to win, So that is surprising that they chose him, and that's actually a bright part of this situation, I think. So I give you that. And the part about diversity, I'll give you that one too. At the end of the day, tokenism doesn't help anyone, even though, like, there is a thing to be said about images where they say representation matters. So you have a little kid who sees someone that looks like them in a position of power, and then they feel like, hey, maybe one day I could actually be that, which is inspirational and which is a good thing. But what people don't really understand is class matters, and it matters way more than your skin tone. It matters way more than your ethnicity, and it has been that way for a really long time. So if that kid shares the skin tone of the person who is in position of power, that isn't enough to get them to actually have a shot at that position, because if they don't come from the same class group of that person with the same skin tone, they probably don't have much of a real shot. But it's good to hope, and it's good to have like a self image that you can carry around, and something to goals to push for. What do they say? Shoot for the moon, you land among the stars. So those are good things, but the diversity is kind of like what Juan was saying in the clip. It's like, it's just a friendlier version of the same thing. It's just a more diverse version of the same thing. It's a, comment says, I felt like I was watching an SNL skit, and I say this as a dim. We definitely live in the Twilight Zone. I swear to God, I feel like I've been waking up in as far as related to politics, since 2016, I've been like in the Twilight Zone with politics. Like, it's unbelievable stuff that's happening. But, I haven't been following politics in depthly for that long. So maybe it's been like this the whole time and forever. But since I've really been paying attention, it's definitely like some craziness, like some real, like you couldn't write this stuff like out of a Stephen King novel. Comment, it says, I agree with everything he's saying, but now is not the time for, there goes that shit. I agree with everything he's saying, but now is not the time for hypocriticism of the DNC. MAGA is a greater concern here at home. Let's win this battle first, and then we can address imperialism and neoliberals. See, this is what I'm saying. This is what they say. This is how they work. Every cycle, they say this same shit, and then we're still in the same boat. Like, when is it going to be the right time? When is it going to be the right place? It's always the most important election of your lifetime. It's always the other guy is going to bring an end to the world. It's always going to be vote blue no matter who, like your life depends on it. Every time. Every time. Come on. He said, bro said Lena Riefenstahl would be proud. That's why Juan is the GOAT. I want to play his clip again because it's profound.
Well, I think one of the things that struck me most, it was the level, as I said, of choreographed mass spectacle of this
choreographed mass spectacle
convention that would be really worthy of Leni Riefenstahl, the famous Nazi Hitler's filmmaker and propagandist, in terms of controlling the narrative that the American people receive of what the Democratic Party is about. We've seen that both the Republican convention and the Democratic convention show the two faces of American capitalism. On the one hand, with the Republicans, you have a party of white supremacist capitalism, of anti-immigrant xenophobia, of patriarchy, and of war on the working class. And now, this past week, we've seen the party of multiracial neoliberal capitalism, a party that seeks a kinder and gentler form of mass deportation and border militarization, and one that is even more aggressive in the imperial policies of the United States than even the Republican Party, if you consider that. And both parties sort of having a disconnect with the rest of the world. I was stunned by all the chants of USA, USA, USA throughout the Democratic Convention, when the reality is that the United States has never been lower in its prestige and never more discredited around the world than it is today, as a result of, especially of its the war in Gaza, but of all the attempts at regime change and controlling other countries and forcing other countries to do what it wants. And it reminds me constantly that one person, one vote is a dangerous concept because there's always the possibility that the masses of people will act in ways that the rulers don't want. So the necessity to control the narrative, to control what is the people consider possible, is so it's so important to our ruling classes. And that's why they invest so much time and so much effort in this choreographing of spectacle to somehow or other prevent the people from thinking of other possibilities. And
can you,
the one power, one vote, is a thing that they've been suppressing for the longest. And with Citizens United and the amount of money that these people can put into the politics, all of these PACs, they manipulate way more powerful than one vote does. And then the part about the narrative is really the most important part. What people think they can actually accomplish is what is the most important thing. If they feel like they can't get anything done, then you've already won. You've already won, because they're not going to get anything done if they don't think it's even possible. So like, the part where these comments are saying, we can't do it here, we can't do it now, we have to wait till later. Right now we have to defeat the boogeyman, and then later on we'll deal with these problems that you guys want to deal with. But right now, work with us to help beat this boogeyman. So then after we help them and work with them to beat the boogeyman, and then the guy gets in power, then they're going to still say, oh, we don't have time for that right now. We have some other stuff we have to deal with. At some point, we're going to get around to the stuff that we're said, that's important to you. So you just keep on kicking the can down the road forever, never addressing the wants and needs of the people. Very sad.
Let me be clear. I will always stand up for Israel's right to defend itself, and I will always ensure Israel has the ability to defend itself, because the people of Israel must never again face the horror that a terrorist organization called Hamas caused on October 7, including unspeakable sexual violence and the massacre of young people at a music festival. And let me be clear, I will always stand up for Israel's right to defend itself, and I will always ensure Israel has the ability to defend itself.
Well, she definitely picked a side, like you can clearly see which side she has chosen there, like without a doubt. So she said, let me be clear, without a doubt, who I stand with. Comments, it says, I think it's pretty disingenuous to not include what she said about Palestinians. I think it's absolutely fair to say it's not enough. But those watching this knowing she said more, knowing you're intentionally leaving it out is not the best strategy. Post what she said about Palestinians too and explain why it's not enough. Yeah, well, if I can remember correctly, I didn't get to watch the whole thing, but I saw more clips, and it was like she was saying she said we're working day and night to get to a ceasefire. So yeah, I mean, no, it's not enough, and it's not even that's disingenuous, her saying we're working day and night to get to a ceasefire, and on the other hand, you continue to send weapons to them. So yeah, that's the part where it's not enough or whatever. I mean, I get you. I feel you. Comments, it says this defend itself line is so absurd because not only does it perpetuate a nebulous narrative of who the bad guys are, but also because no nation has the right to defend itself against armed resistance emanating from a territory it occupies, according to international law. Palestine actually has a right to defend itself against occupation, but they keep quoting the playbook on repeat. Yeah, they have their buzzwords, their buzz lines, approved phrases. They all say the same thing. That's how you know it's coming from the same source. It's like, we want y'all to say this. Comment, it says the Democratic Party is a capitalist party that represents the interests of the capital owning class, not the working class. When faced with the choice between shifting right towards fascism or left towards socialism, they will always lean toward fascism because it doesn't threaten the interests of capital. They won't implement policies that go against the class they serve. This means that voting for Democrats over Republicans is not about choosing democracy over fascism, but rather choosing the different versions of fascism, blue or red. Either way, both votes ultimately supports fascism. Two wings, same bird. Good cop, bad cop. Well, I shared that twice.
Here at the DNC is that they're going to go after corporate gouging, and they're going to go after corporations, whether it's in taxes, largesse, loopholes. The RNC, we heard the same thing. They're going after the elites, the two sets of rules. Let me reveal a reality to you that has to be spoken to here, okay? These are the soldiers. These are the men and the women that go back to their constituencies and their communities, and they fight. They take time from their jobs. They take time from their families. Republicans and Democrats alike, that's what they do. They need to charge these people up. They need to be able to get them on board. But there's another reality that is literally looking down on them. Greg, look at the ring of sweets, okay? This is not unique to Democrats. There is a game of money. When people talk about uniparty, we are strangled by the money reality in our politics. Those suites start at 500 grand. You think there's like a teacher group up in there? You think it's like the Cub Scouts of Columbia County, South Carolina, that's up in those boxes? Some of them are lobbies and good things. The media boxes, you think they're free? Why do you think I'm on the floor? News Nation is not a broke company. Nexstar is a massive organization. We are corporate media. We don't have one of those boxes because that's the game. You pay to play. Those boxes are filled with the same people that they say they're going to regulate. They are literally looking down on the faithful and being told, yeah, we're going to break down on them. We're going to make them pay their share. They paid $500, $700, $1 million, $1.5 million to have those seats. They get hotel suites that are probably gifted to the party. And the same thing is true with the Republican side. And they're going to take them down. They're going to change how it is. They are looking down from on high at the people who make the difference in their communities. And that is the reality of politics. And I had my producer walk around and show you those suites. Now, they're not all the same. They're not all the same. But the reality is, in 2000, they spent $300 million on presidential campaigns. 24 years later, you know what they're expected to spend? $10 billion. Do you know how much money Harris has raised in the last couple of weeks? Hundreds of millions. And that's success. A lot of it's small donor. A lot of it isn't. The most dangerous money in politics is now legal money because of Citizens United. You've got to know this. The idea that they can fight against it is almost laughable.
Almost
It's
laughable.
almost laughable. So look and listen when you are told these things. Because I don't care what they promise you. Not here tonight, not at the RNC, not that Trump knows them, not that they don't own them. He did one of the biggest fundraisers I've ever heard of in my life out where I live. Millions of dollars a plate. That's the reality of politics. A big theme here at the DNC.
Yeah, man. You know, to think that you are going to get what you want over some billionaire, trillionaire is crazy. You're crazy to think that you're going to get what you want and that guy is not going to get what he wants, you know? And, you know, they always take up the language of the people, you know, talking about, you know, we're going to go after these elites. Like, how are you going to go after the elites? You are an elite. You're going to go after your buddies, the people who, you know, your kids go to the same school, the people that you go to the bar and have drinks with, you know, the people that you go play golf with on the weekends, you know, the people that you fly in their private jets with, you are going to go after them and take them down, right? Like, forgive me if I don't believe you at all. And this is true for both sides of the aisle. There's no exceptions. And like what this guy is saying, Cuomo surprises me all the time. You know, every now and then he really says some good stuff. And this is one of those times. Talking about the people up in the, you know, up in the private little sections, you know, these people, like some of them people were probably at the RNC. You know, these people, they hedge their bets. You know, they're going to make sure that they get what they want to get regardless of who wins. You know, bet on both sides. Whoever wins, I win. Whoever wins, I get what I want. They're going to listen to that money. Look at what happened in the elections. The AIPAC money flooded these elections and caused certain people to lose their seats. This money is not no joke. It's you know, it really has a huge impact on, you know, who wins and who loses. These ads, it costs so much money and it keeps costing more and more each election cycle. These ads have so much of an impact on how people vote. And if you play these ads over and over and over again, even if they're lies, they get into people's head and they affect their decisions when they get into the voting booth. It's pretty simple. You know, if you got enough money to make your opponent look like a villain, or if you got enough money to choose who your opponent is going to be, the one that you know, think that you have a better chance of beating them. Like, this is the kind of stuff that's happening. The American people is completely oblivious. They're like, and they put Coke or Diet Coke or whatever. They put Coke or Pepsi up there for you to choose from, but they chose your choices. So you have an illusion of choice. Comments, it says the effing Hunger Games. Another comment, it says that's how the U.S. is ran, period. Corporate interests control America no matter who is in the presidency. This is what I say all the time. And you guys want to argue about, you know, inflation and, you know, the cost of this and the cost of that. And then you're like, well, my life was good when this president was in, and my life got bad when this other president got in, or whatever. And it's like, come on, bro, you're playing the game that they want you to play. It doesn't matter that much. Like, where you work has the hugest impact on your life. You know, your employer impacts your life. You know, if you own a business, then it's like the regulations that you have to go through, or competing, because it's like, you know, we don't really have a free market. So if you have a business, you're using, like, a lot of these people, they say they have a business, but they go through Amazon. Amazon gets a portion of everything that they make. So, is it who the president is that affects how much that person who has its own business that goes through Amazon makes? Or is it Amazon and the policies that Amazon has put forth determines how much you're making or whatever? So, I mean, it's an illusion to think that the next guy is going to come in and, make a difference and save the world or whatever when you're not putting pressure on these corporations. Now, if the next guy coming in is saying he's going to go after the corporations, and bust them up and regulate them and so forth and so on, then maybe he is going to do something. But that's not going to be the case when the majority of the money that they get to win their election came from those same corporations. Who makes an investment and doesn't expect a return on their investment? If they're going to give money to this person's campaign, do you not think that they're going to want something back in return? How could this dude take like hundreds, let's just throw a number, hundreds of millions of dollars from a specific corporation and then get in office and then go after that same corporation? Like, how would that work? Is he really going to do that? And if he did, then that same corporation is going to put money up to get him up out of there and get their guy, somebody who's going to play ball. It's always going to be somebody who's going to play ball. There's too much money. You can't even blame yourself. I mean, me or you offered hundreds of $1 million to lie to the American people and get all of these perks for our friends and family, and then get out of politics and go get a cush job and live the rest of your life in comfort with all kinds of freaking benefits. Comments that says Cuomo's going rogue. Another one that says same coin, two sides. Another one, and the next celebrity suicide goes to, hopefully not. Another comment says, why do you think they hate Trump? Oh my God. Another comment says, he's risking a lot, love it. Another one, both sides playing right in our faces. Another one, somebody better protect this man. Another one, hashtag they don't really care about us. Another comment, no lies told. Another one, as soon as the festivities ended, they said on CNN she was in the back meeting with potential donors. And they don't stop there. They even text the regular folks at home that may have been inspired and ask them for a buck. Wild business. Yeah, it's all a pretend. Like, they could get where they want to get without any donations from regular folks. It's just to give you an illusion that they, that they need your money and that your money is really going to have an impact on what's going to happen. It doesn't. Don't kid yourself. When you got a corporation who could drop tens of millions of dollars in their pocket, they're good without your little $5, $20, $100. Trust me, they're good without that. Because if they couldn't fundraise, they wouldn't be much of a politician. Like, fundraising is the main part of the whole damn thing. You can't win elections without being able to fundraise. And, fundraising is not necessarily about getting money, those small dollar donations, because they don't add up to very much. They have to be able to fundraise from big donors to be able to win. If they can't do that, they won't win. Your small dollar donations doesn't have an impact. I really hate to bust your bubble. Oh man, I don't know how much longer I'm gonna stay because I'm really not feeling it today. Want to go fishing. Let me see. They're comparing Gaza with Vietnam. There's a lot of similarities there. New scams. Doc sent me that. I think I'm going to do that before I go. Let me see. Candace always talking about Lizzo. Let's do this. Tim Walz and a little bit about him. I think this is the clip that covers some of his stuff.
democracynow.org. We're breaking with convention, war, peace, and the presidency. I'm Amy Goodman with Nermeen Sheikh.
Minnesota Governor Tim Walz accepted the Democratic nomination for vice president on the third night of the Democratic National Convention here in Chicago. Walz has served as governor of Minnesota since 2018 after 6 terms in Congress, where he served as the ranking member of the House Veterans Affairs Committee. Walz is a former public school teacher and high school football coach who served 24 years in the National Guard. During his speech on Wednesday, Walz made repeated references to his time as a coach. He also outlined his achievements as governor.
We cut taxes for the middle class. We passed paid family and medical leave. We invested in fighting crime and affordable housing. We cut the cost of prescription drugs and helped people escape the kind of medical debt that nearly sank my family. And we made sure that every kid in our state gets breakfast and lunch every day. So while other states were banning books from their schools, we were banishing hunger from ours.
Man, I ain't gonna lie. I always love it when they talk about feeding the kids. You know, breakfast and lunch for the kids may not seem like a big deal to you, but to that hungry kid that's sitting in that freaking lunchroom who didn't get to eat that night before, that is a big deal. Okay. And then whenever I bring this up, people are like, no, man, you know, nobody has a problem with the kids having lunch or whatever. Like, you know, okay, well, maybe they don't, but do they put forth policies to ensure that the kids have lunch and breakfast? You know, name a Republican state that has done this. Okay, like they push against these things. So, you know, you're like the Republicans, they don't have a problem with kids having something to eat. Okay, well, you know, name a governor who has, you know, made sure that their kids, you know, in the public schools have food for lunch and for breakfast for free. You know, help me understand. Show me some evidence that supports what you're saying. So, you know, maybe they don't have a problem with the kids eating, but they don't put forth any freaking policies to make sure that the kids are eating. Get the F out of here, man.
We also protected reproductive freedom because in Minnesota, we respect our neighbors and the personal choices they make. And even if we wouldn't make those same choices for ourselves, we've got a golden rule. Mind your own damn business. And that includes IVF and fertility treatments. And this is personal for Gwen and I. If you've never experienced the hell that is infertility, I guarantee you, you know somebody who has. And I can remember praying each night for a phone call. The pit in your stomach when the phone had rang, and the absolute agony when we heard the treatments hadn't worked. It took Gwen and I years, but we had access to fertility treatments. And when our daughter was born, we named her Hope. Hope, Gus, and Gwen, you are my entire world, and I love you. I'm letting you in on how we started a family because this is a big part about what this election is about. Freedom. When Republicans use the word freedom, they mean that the government should be free to invade your doctor's office. Corporations free to pollute your air and water. And banks free to take advantage of customers. But when we Democrats talk about freedom, we mean the freedom to make a better life for yourself and the people that you love. Freedom to make your own healthcare decisions. And yeah, your kids' freedom to go to school without worrying about being shot dead in the hall. Look, I know guns. I'm a veteran. I'm a hunter. And I was a better shot than most Republicans in Congress, and I got the trophies to prove it. But I'm also a dad. I believe in the Second Amendment, but I also believe our first responsibility is to keep our kids safe.
Democratic vice presidential nominee Tim Walz speaking on Wednesday night. He also criticized the Trump-Vance Republican ticket.
Some folks just don't understand what it takes to be a good neighbor. Take Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. Their Project 2025 will make things much, much harder for people who are just trying to live their lives. They spent a lot of time pretending they know nothing about this. But look, I coached high school football long enough to know, and trust me on this, when somebody takes the time to draw up a playbook, they're going to use it. And we know if these guys get back in the White House, they'll start jacking up the costs on the middle class. They'll repeal the Affordable Care Act. They'll gut Social Security and Medicare. And they will ban abortion across this country with or without Congress. Here's the thing. It's an agenda nobody asked for. It's an agenda that serves nobody except the richest and the most extreme amongst us. And it's an agenda that does nothing for our neighbors in need. Is it weird? Absolutely. Absolutely. But it's also wrong. And it's dangerous. It's not just me saying so. It's Trump's own people. They were with him for 4 years. They're warning us that the next 4 years will be much, much worse.
That's Minnesota Governor Tim Walz accepting the Democratic vice presidential nomination last night here in Chicago at the Democratic National Convention. We're joined right now by two guests. Still with us, Minneapolis City Council member Jeremiah Ellison. And we're joined by Branko Marcetic, a staff writer at Jacobin who's been writing about Governor Walz. In fact, we had you on when Kamala Harris first chose him. If you can talk about not only his history, but also now the controversies that have come out, or what the Republicans are trying to go after him for.
Yeah, Walz is considered a very progressive pick for running mate, but he didn't start out as a progressive firebrand. He was a guy who won a conservative rural district in Minnesota. He kept it for another decade, and he ran for governor on kind of a not particularly progressive platform. He was more of the centrist in the race, and he ended up winning. And then when he won re-election, he got a trifecta in the Minnesota State House. He ended up using that political capital to pass a flurry of progressive legislation, paid family leave, and medical leave, universal school meals, legalized marijuana. He put forward a very ambitious renewable energy law as well, a lot of worker protections, and you could go down the list.
Did he go from 100% support of the NRA to went way the other way in terms of pushing for gun control.
Yeah, very much so. He was a guy, when he was in the House, he was a staunch supporter of gun rights. And then once he started to run for governor, he used that power to curb the proliferation of guns. That's one of the controversies that came out about him. While he was trying to make the case for the need to curb the gun problem in the U.S., he said, these weapons of war that I carried in war should not be around. People pointed out he didn't actually serve a combat role in Iraq. So he was kind of embellishing his resume there. People that defend him would say, well, but he wasn't embellishing his resume to make himself look better. He was doing it to make the case for why this should be done. There's a few other controversies that now are dogging him. Probably the one that Republicans are most trying to pin on him is that he retired from the National Guard. He served, I think, for 24 years. That's a big part of his resume. It's part of his appeal to rural America, to more conservative voters. When he retired a few months later, he retired in May 2005. In August 2005, his unit got the call up to be deployed in Iraq. People have said, even though the timeline does not make it seem like he dodged service, people are saying, well, there's no way he wouldn't have known that he was going to be deployed. He did this as a way to kind of get out of actually having to serve. But at the same time, the Minnesota National Guard has said that he had actually filed his papers to retire 5 to 7 months before that May date. So that one's a little more dubious. One that has more truth to it, but may not matter as much, is that Walz has been saying for months now, for weeks now, that he and his wife went through IVF treatment for infertility. And he's trying to connect to voters, number one, who have had that problem, but also the fact that Republicans have taken aim at IVF, and it's a very unpopular position. And it turns out that he and his wife didn't quite use IVF. They used a different fertility treatment. Again, whether this is a scandal that matters, it's in the eye of the beholder. I've seen some people say, some voters say, at the end of the day, he's just trying to use his biography to connect. He's not necessarily using this to kind of make himself look better. It's more just to be able to say to voters, I know what you've been through, and use his own biography for that. So that's some of the stuff that Republicans have tried to put on him. Whether it sticks, I'm not sure. At the moment, he has a far lower negative unfavorability than J.D. Vance, for instance, who very quickly saw his ratings plummet because of a series of quite damaging interviews that he had done long before he was picked. The Walz right now is looking pretty good. So, it remains to be seen. We'll see in the coming months whether any of this stuff actually sticks.
Well,
Yeah. So let's read the caption. It says, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz formally accepted the Democratic nomination for Vice President at DNC on Wednesday. A former public school teacher, high school football coach, and National Guard member, Walz spent 6 terms in Congress before his successful run for governor in 2018. We took a look at his record, including his moderate record on police brutality following the 2020 killing of George Floyd in Minneapolis, with 2 guests, Jacobin staff writer Benko Mercedes and Minneapolis City Council member Jeremiah Ellison, was the son of Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison. Walz's progressive wins in Minnesota appear to have swayed Kamala Harris' selection, says Mercedes, as Harris hopes to mirror parts of his agenda on the federal level. I think that he's sincere in the efforts to see change, said Jeremiah Ellison, who is also an uncommitted delegate and goes on to discuss the uncommitted movement strategy at the DNC. Yeah, they kept those people outside the DNC. They didn't even let them in, people that were the uncommitted ones. Let's read some comments. It says, if the rich were forced to finally pay their fair share in taxes, we could have free school lunch and breakfast and snacks of apples, oranges, etc., free nationwide at all public schools. Wouldn't that be beautiful? I think that they could afford it right now. It's all about priorities. It's all about political will. the money goes to defense contractors instead of kids' breakfast. Comments that says, stop the wars, invest in America. Another one that says, you don't vote, you lose. Another comment, I think Walsh is a fine choice and he seems like a genuine person as far as can be determined by learning about him through media. And after hearing more about his background, he's pretty scandal free, which is rare, lol. It's good to know people like him exist. Another one, fun fact, Walsh doesn't own a house and has a very normal level of wealth for someone his age at his management level. Another comment, Branko comment on embellishing resume, 24 years of training with weapon of war. You may be surprised to learn that soldiers are actually given weapons before they show up in the battlefield, and they are taught how to use them before they ever see combatant. There is recognition that there is a difference between wartime and civilian weapons. Automatic machine guns are strictly regulated because you don't need 600 rounds per second to take that deer down. They are wartime weapons. I don't agree with a lot of the assault weapon craziness because they don't really answer the problems with high capacity semi-automatics, and frankly, a bolt action rifle in the hands of a skilled operator is more dangerous than an idiot with an AR. The background check system needs to be updated and made more robust to deal with the kooks before it's an issue. Another comment, he says IVF is personal because he and his wife went through fertility treatments. I never heard him say they used IVF. Another comment, who else is using Social Security and Medicare? Another one, thank you, Tim et al. For feeding the people. It says, in the future, Republicans are going to have to study proctology. Another one, there should be far more views here. Not only America, but other countries are ecstatic over Walsh. Corporations are tidying their bunkers. Another one, if the soldier wants to retire, they must submit a request for retirement. If that person is in critical position and if it's important for them to remain in the service to complete a mission, the request for retirement will be denied. So if they retired before the military realized they are needed for deployment, they can be recalled to active duty. Another one, Jill Stein, 2024, Peace and End to Wars. Another one, normal National Guard people retire at 20 years. IUI is the same as IVF. Another comment, I am your sister from Yemen, and by Allah, I only speak out of hunger and distress. My mother, my brothers, and lessons of tears. We're in a situation that only Allah knows about. Allah is sufficient for us, and He is the best disposer of affairs for those who brought us to this situation. By Allah Almighty, I do not write this appeal out of distress and distress. Poverty, O world, they have felt it. So I hope for you, by Allah Almighty, Lord, the great throne. He ate what I had in the house. That is way too long. Comment says, I think Tim Walsh would make a very good president. Another one, thank you, Amy and staff. Great reporting. Why are these people still supporting Cackles and Walsh when Cackles have been VP for 4 years and did absolutely nothing other than support genocide, Joe, and everything he did? Another one, it says, stop idolizing those who steal your efforts to have a better future for you and your family with their lives and never fulfilling the promises when they have become millionaires. Get honest information and judge according to your values. It says, write words and claims without action and consequences are nothing but gaslighting. Another one, Tim Walsh was an excellent choice for VP. Kamala's first big decision was a good one. Another one, cut taxes for the poor, never. Increase taxes for the rich, what a joke, what a liar. Yeah, it's like those things like paid family leave, like who has a problem with that shit? You know, who has a problem with kids eating, having lunch and breakfast? Like, I can't even comprehend anyone having a problem with those things. Let me see. I think I might get out of here because I want to go fishing. Let me see if it's something I want to hit before I go. There was one. Let me see if I can find it. Can I play this while I'm scrolling? No. Because there's one that kind of sums up pretty much. I was going to play some more DNC clips. If I could do another show, I'll do them. I can't guarantee I'll be on because I got to focus on school. This is my last semester. I'm finna graduate and I'm not playing. I'm not going to fall behind. Where's the one? I really want to find this. Obama gave a good speech. Forget how good he is at what he does until you see him up there. I saw the clips of him and I was like, God, this guy is really good at what he does. Talk about somebody who's made for this game. I can't find it. I probably passed it up. Forgive me, y'all. They're talking about Mpox. Maybe that might be the new thing, that the new scary thing. Pretty scary, I ain't gonna lie. I'm looking for the post where they were talking about how they're just kicking the can down the road and it's all BS. How they like, we're going to get to it at some point, just not now. Where is it? I probably passed it up. That really sucks, man. I'm going to find it and then repost it and make sure I cover it next time. The Starbucks CEO, and he gets to fly a jet for free because he's commuting to work now from one state to another one. Craziness. Like I say, these people are not in the same world as us. His pay increase was ridiculous too. It's like Starbucks was like, man, the last CEO let them organize and shit, join unions and shit. We ain't with that. Get them up out of there. Let's get somebody in here who's not going to let these people organize. So it's costing us money. And we'll pay him a lot to make sure that the little guy, can't organize and get paid more. It's cutting into our freaking profits. Damn, man, I cannot find what I'm looking for. I hate it when it happens. I'm not feeling it today, anyways, y'all. Forgive me. They just kicked the can down the road. Wait, is this it? This is it, I think. It says they're working on a ceasefire, like they're working on gun control, like they're working on structural racism, like they're working on healthcare, like they're working on climate change, like they're working on income inequality, like they're working on abortion. You know, yeah, they're working on it. They're working on the ceasefire at the same time sending money over there. They're working on gun control as another school shooting happens. Working on structural racism as another cop kills a brown person. They're working on the health care as another person dies that can't afford health care. It just keeps going on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And it's gaslighting. It's incrementalism. You know, we're never gonna do these things. We're just gonna say we're gonna do them and get you to vote for us. You're never gonna get those things. Comments. It says the empty words are suffocating. I'm telling you, they take my breath away. When I heard ALC saying that shit that she was saying, and I'm a fan of ALC, but I know that she was full of shit, and it was like painful to hear. It was really, really suffocating. Took my breath away. Comments. It says the only thing they're working on is manufacturing consent for the moral depravity and lawlessness. Ooh. Comment. It says, I'm aghast at the joyfulness of it all. In the midst of countless domestic crises and multiple genocides, which we directly fund and support, and we're dancing and bopping around like our electoral process is a pop concert. I'm so very effing tired of this. I can barely pretend with friends and colleagues about how disappointing this is. If I say we should hold our elected officials accountable, the backlash is immediate. You want Trump to win, or you don't support Black women. It's Twilight Zone wild out here. Hella disappointing. Yeah, they really put people in a pickle. And I think that's the reason why they went in this direction that they've gone in. It's like you can't criticize, the Democratic Party with Kamala Harris at its head without being racist or misogynistic, or wanting Trump to win or whatever, being a Trump supporter, or being a, like, I don't know, radical leftist, like extremist. You can't go against them. You can't put any pressure on. They've insulated themselves from pressure with the Kamala Harris pick, and I think that was the plan. Comments. It says, yes, because nothing says working on a ceasefire more than continuing to send them billions upon billions of weapons. Another comment. It says, the empire must fall. Another one. Louder for the people in the back. How long can a society sustain themselves on empty promises and false hope? The only folks I see actually working on grassroots orgs and individuals fighting for liberation. Our government systems are not built to keep us safe. They're built to make profit. We keep us safe. We must take action for change. The real hope is rooted in community. Let's take care of each other. Boom, boom, boom. But you know what? What she said, how long can a society sustain themselves on empty promises and false hope? That is a real question right there. Because what happens when people wake up? What happens when the narrative no longer works? What happens when people are tired and they're hungry and they're starving? The pitchforks, bro. The pitchforks. So I don't know. I mean, These people, I know they got their bunkers and stuff they're gonna run to, but them damn things ain't gonna keep you safe, bro. The people gonna go in there and pull you up out of there. They gonna pull you up out of there, bro. Like you gonna blast off to Mars or somewhere? You gonna hang out on the space station? Because I don't know where you're gonna be able to hide from the people when the shit really hits the fan. Another comment says, in other words, they're not working on it at all and are actively working to continue mass murdering millions of people and destroying our planet. Yeah, not working on it at all, man. At all. It's all BS. So they could have done any of these things. Any of these things on this list really could have been done already. It's missing the political will. It's gonna hurt some corporation's pocketbook. And they're the ones who really run the show. Couple more comments. It says, in other words, they're not working on it at all and are actively working to continue mass murder. And said that one. It says one party says they're working on it while doing the bare minimum that won't irritate moderates. The other party actively tries to undo any progress made and finds ways to make it worse. That's that good cop, bad cop deal. They're really working together to lead to, a stalemate. Another comment says, oh, but taxes to billionaire millionaires, they get efficient. Reagan, Bush, JR, and Trump got on giving their millionaire friends tax cuts with efficient VIP treatments. Another one, and of course, RG won't let me share this. Another one, and they call us lazy for struggling. Hold on. Struggling to pay for a house. Like, dog, aren't you procrastinating or refusing to send someone weapons? Another comment. Yep, all this talk about supporting workers and supporting unions. How about allowing railroad workers and lots of other laborers, teachers, doctors, nurses, etc., to strike? They want us to vote for them. Change now. Another one. The truth is not the enemy, but the truth has enemies. Ooh. Jeffrey Robinson, founder of Who We Are Project. It says, make me wonder if they're even working at all. They're not. I'm going to get out of here, y'all. Peace and love. Thank y'all for listening. Thank y'all for joining. I'm going to be here, but not as much as I was. School has started, and that's where my focus is right now. So that's what it is. I'm trying to graduate, y'all.